to talk about my 5-year update on my move to Texas. I know the last video I made was in 2018, and so I wanted to use this video to talk about the different things I've learned along the way, my journey of radical obedience, and answer the questions that you guys posted on the last video as well. And so the first thing that I have learned is that I'm not the same person who I was before I moved. And I know that's a no-brainer, like, duh, you're not the same person. But for me, I realized that me moving from one location to another was connected to the work that God had to do inside of me. And so I see that the Lord really had to refine me, had to stretch me, had to grow me. I've had to grow in the fruit of the Spirit and all these different things that were connected to the location that the Lord had for me in order for me to be the woman of God He has called me to be, that He physically had to move me to another location. And so I really just knowing that who I am today has a lot to do with the Lord, with me rediscovering who I am with the Lord in the new location that I'm in. And so again, that was the first thing that I've learned, is that I'm not the same person who I was before. And it has a lot to do with the Lord connecting me to this new location. And the second thing that I've learned is don't go looking for a roommate on Craigslist. That was the first mistake that I made. And it's not to say that the Lord cannot lead you on Craigslist for a roommate, but with my process, because I had just moved here and I didn't really spend time praying about the Lord, about where I should move, where I should live. Like, everything just happened so fast for me that I didn't have a plan. And it's not to say that you can't just move on faith, but I know for me, looking back on this situation, I would have spent some time really praying about where the Lord wants me to live, who He wants me to live with, and it would have saved me a lot of trouble. I ended up moving out of the apartment a couple months later. It didn't work out. There was times where I almost got evicted and just different things of that nature. And so I really wish that I would have surrendered that process to the Lord and allowed Him to guide me. But it's okay, because that's all a part of the learning experience and the learning process. But don't be like me and just go randomly looking for a roommate on Craigslist just because you got a word from the Lord. Be prayerful about it. And so looking back again, I would pray more about it. I would allow the Lord to lead and guide me, but it's okay. So yeah. And then my third thing I would say is that the Lord has really connected me with a community, with a body, with a family of believers who I do life with. And He's really solidified that over the last 6 months, I would say. When I first moved here, I spent a lot of time grieving the friendships that I lost. And it was just like, I try to think of what I should have done differently, what I should have said differently. But it was like the Lord was trying to remove the old from me so that He can bring the new. But I kept trying to attach myself to the old until He permanently just closed that door. And so it's like I spent a lot of years just really grieving those old friendships and feeling hurt and just all these, and rejection and all these different things. But when I moved here, it was like the Lord brought me kingdom friendships that I was like, wow, I wasn't ready for this, Lord. Like, you gave me this beautiful friendship, Lord. And I'm so thankful that He did that. It was like I'm able to do life with a body of believers who really love the Lord and to live in community. And so again, I had to move so that the Lord can connect me with kingdom relationships, kingdom connection, and ultimately a kingdom community who really loves Him and who wants to serve Him and serve other people as well. And so I know that, again, this move was really connected to the people that the Lord was going to bring into my life and to really do life with as well. So that was really important too. For my move, is the kingdom friendships and the kingdom connections that resulted from me moving here to Texas. Another thing that I've learned is that I've tapped into this supernatural favor that I can't explain. And what I mean by that is because I was obedient on the word that the Lord gave me to move here, it appeared that I started to have favor with man, with God and with man. Not that I didn't have favor before with God, but I noticed that especially when I was going through those trying moments and those seasons where it was really hard for me, it was like the Lord kept showing me that I had favor with him, that I had favor with man. And that resulted in me learning to trust God more, knowing to know that he's going to provide for my needs. Or when I didn't have a job, or when I almost got evicted, it was like the Lord was like opening these doors of favor that I never experienced before in my life. Why? Because I was in a position and I was in a place where I was completely surrendering all to the Lord, and that he can now come in and show me that he's going to be God over my life. And so I felt like I've been able to really tap into that favor. Why? Because I was obedient. 2, I learned to trust in the Lord, that he was going to make a way. Like I felt like I didn't have any other option. You know, when the job was stripped from me, when I moved here, I didn't have anything. It's like, well, Lord, you're going to come for me, A, or B, you're going to come through for me. Sorry, you're going to come through for me, or you're going to come through for me. Like, that was the only option I had. Like, I couldn't rely on other people, though I had family and friends that helped me. But in a sense, the Lord was showing me, let me show you what favor looks like when you trust in me, when your face is looking towards me, when I have your undivided attention to do what only I can do. What seems impossible for man will be possible for me. And so, like I said again, I believe that this move is truly connected to the supernatural favor that has been attached to my life because I was obedient to the word that the Lord gave me. And I'm going to make another video that really talks about the supernatural, miraculous ways that the Lord came through during my time here as well. So that will just be its own video too. And so another thing that I wanted to say too is that this has really just been a season where I've learned to trust in the Lord to fight my battles, right? And so moments before, it would be like, people would work, not that I would argue with people, but I would get so like frustrated and worked up. I'm not someone that argues or fights with people at all. But it was just like I was really in my flesh, especially growing up with my parents and, having these little disagreements and stuff with them. It was just like I would get really emotional. I'd be stressed. I'd be angry because I wasn't surrendering those situations to the Lord. But once I moved here, it was like the Lord was really shifting my mindset on how to deal with disagreements and arguments from a heavenly perspective and not from a fleshly perspective, right? And so I had to switch how I thought about things, and rather than me trying to be upset and angry and frustrated, I allowed the Lord to fight the battle for me. And so what does that look like? Well, for me at least, it looks like me not having to argue with somebody, not having to get all worked up, And obviously, godly confrontation is good, that we should be able to go to people and we're able to address things when things come up and have that clear line of communication. And that's something else that I've had to learn too. But I'm saying that I knew that the Lord would fight my battle for me. And then every time that I literally surrendered that situation or that person to the Lord, it was like the Lord he would come through for me. Like he said, the vengeance is mine, says the Lord. He came through. Like I didn't have to say anything to anybody. Like my God fought for me, and that was it. Like, and once God fights for me, like I don't have to prove nothing to you. I don't have to prove a point. I don't have to try to puff myself up or try to win an argument. No, because I know who fights my battle, and it's my Heavenly Father. And so that's just really been a beautiful thing to see. And to know that he's the one that fights my battles. He's the one that fights for me. And I just really have to bring that person and bring that issue to the Lord, and he takes care of it for me. So that's really been a huge thing for me as well. And then lastly, the last thing that I've learned is that I feel like I'm in a place where I'm really walking in purpose and destiny. And I've talked about my journey with nursing and different things, but I feel like, especially with this year, in 2022, that I've really been a place where I'm settled in my purpose, I'm settled in my destiny. Like, I don't have the stress of, oh, I'm in school or a job that's stressing me out. Like, I'm really in a place where I can do what the Lord has called me to do, and I can be who He's called me to be. With praying for people, sharing the gospel with others, praying for healing, deliverance, and baptism, all of these things that my heart has desired. I feel like I'm in a place where I'm walking in that. And it's just been so beautiful to see where just evolving into who God has called me to be, and the purpose and the plans that He has for my life as well. Even me just being consistent on Instagram, on our Unveiled page, that has also been a blessing as well. And so finally just really being in a settled place where I can fully walk in my purpose, and I don't have distractions or things that are really hindering me, because the Lord has really just settled me in a place where I can do the things that He has called me to do, not for myself, but for His glory and for His kingdom. And so, I really just feel like I've really been in a place where I'm settled in my purpose. I'm walking into the things that God has for me. And it's just really been a beautiful place to be in, because ultimately I want to please the Lord. Ultimately, when the time comes that on the day of judgment, like He's going to ask us, what did we do with the things that He gave us? And so we have to really think about that every day that we wake up. If we're being fruitful in our lives, in our relationship, in our jobs, into the different things that the Lord has called you to do, are we being fruitful in those things? And so I just feel like I'm really in that place of being more consistent and walking in purpose and walking in destiny and doing all that my Heavenly Father desires for me to do. So it's just really been beautiful to see me even evolve into that, and to really walk into that purpose and to walk into that destiny, and being more consistent, y'all, because I have not been on YouTube in a while, but we're working on it, because I feel like now I'm at a place where I can commit, I can be consistent, I can encourage, I can inspire, I can share the word. And so I'm just really excited about the season that I'm in, and just the different things that I learned about as well. And so to sum it all up, my move has been refining, it's brought healing, and just even a radical, spontaneous adventure with the Lord. And I'll share more about that when I, share about my testimonies of how God came through. But I really love how, I have this special relationship with the Lord, and it's spontaneous, it's adventurous, and it's beautiful. And the Lord just really desires us to have that intimacy with Him as a father and as a daughter. And so it's just really been refreshing to see how I've moved from glory to glory, from stretching to stretching, from faith to more faith, from more patience to more patience, from joy to even more joy, and how God has really just been developing me in that place. It's really just been a beautiful thing to see. So that's all I have, but really quickly, I did just want to answer some questions that you guys posted on the last video concerning my move, and I'll post the link to that video as well. And so the first question is, how did I find a place? Which I pretty much just talked about. It was that I found a place through Craigslist, which I don't recommend anybody do. So again, making sure that you are pretty much prayerful about that. I wasn't prayerful about that because I was just trying to move and trying to get out of where I was living. I just needed to go because God said it, right? So using wisdom, inviting the Lord into your moving situation. If you find a place that you like or desire, pray about it, go visit it. And that's one thing I didn't do. I didn't even visit the place where I wanted, that I was going to live. I just found this room and I said, okay, cool, this is where I'm going to live. And the place was okay, but I wish I would have taken more time in that process and learning more about the apartment, learning more about even the roommate that I was living with, getting to know her before, I moved, even though we were briefly talking and I was convinced, but it was just like the Lord can really guide that process when you surrender that to Him. And so making sure that you are partnering with the Lord on where to live, who to live with, and allow Him to guide that so that you don't have to make some of the mistakes that I did, or then you regret where you live or who you live with as well. The second question, the last question I got was, question number 2, how did I find a job? And so the first job I had, I was only there for a couple of months. It didn't last long. And again, like, I don't really think that I prayed for that job. It was just like, I needed money, I needed provision, like, let me just, work anywhere that I can. I just worked there for a couple of months. It was good, again, it didn't last long. I wasn't getting paid much, and it was a good experience, but I really wished, again, I would have invited the Lord into that process rather than trying to take control of that situation and allowing God to be God. And that's the thing. When we're going through things, we're high on emotions, where we try to take control of the situation, but the Lord's like, will you trust me that I'll provide you with the job that you need or the housing that you need? Will you trust me? And so it was a good job, but that didn't last long. And I felt that after that job, like, I went into like a consecration with the Lord over the next, I think, like, month or two, where I was just really seeking His face. It was like I was getting rejected from the dream job that I desired, and I was just feeling depressed and sad about it. But it was just like God was using that for me to enter into His presence, right? And so it really wasn't a wasted time or a wasted season for me, even if I just worked for like a couple of months, because I was consecrating myself before the Lord. I was really seeking His face. I was entering into the secret place. I was learning to be thankful. I was learning to be content in Him. And so much fruit was produced. And so after just really, after really spending time with the Lord, it was just like the Lord opened more doors of jobs and different things of that nature. It was like the Lord was leading me into the jobs that I did desire, but it came with a cost, right? I had to surrender what I thought I needed at the moment, which was a job, and bring that before the Lord and spend time in His presence, spend time seeking His face. He said He rewards those who diligently seek Him, right? He said, seek first His kingdom. And so I had to come from a place where I wasn't putting this job on such a high pedestal before the Lord, but to realize He's my provider. Like, what is it for God to provide me with a job? What is it for the Lord to provide housing? Like, it's nothing for Him to do, but He's saying, like, will you seek me? Even if you don't have the job, even if you don't have the money or the housing, even if it seems like, you don't have the finances at the moment, will you still seek me? And so the Lord really had to take me through a season where I had to learn to seek Him, even if I didn't have the things that I desired at the moment. And then in His timing, the doors for those things and for the job, it opened, and I was so happy, and joyful about it. But I had to learn to really seek the Lord in the secret place in order for Him to open those doors and of jobs and different things that I had desired. So yeah, I'm trying to see if there was any other question. Yeah, I think those were the only 2 questions that I had on the last video concerning it. If you guys have any more questions about my move, or anything else comes up, or even on this video, just comment below. And please do not forget to like, subscribe, share as well. Thank you guys. See you on our next video. Bye.